So my objectivist journey, I don't know how this video is going to turn out. I don't have notes or anything. Partner was just like, make a video talking about objectivist stuff. He's been telling me to do this forever, and I don't want to do it because I don't know really what to say, but hopefully if I talk enough, I'll figure it out. You'll go on the journey with me. Honestly, the whole thing is nothing new, really. I think a lot of people have had this experience. It's kind of a trope at this point, I guess. You know, the kid, usually a male, you know, teenager, reads The Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged and becomes enlightened, and, you know, now they know everything, and collectivism is the number one evil, and the government's bad, and all this kind of stuff. And then they grow up and they grow out of it, right? It's a fairly common thing. It's a joke at this point. So that was me around 15 or so. I read Anthem. I think I read it for school, actually. Kind of sad. I mean, that book's not terrible, but it's not great either. She was not a good writer. Anyway, so I read that, and then I read The Fountainhead and just absolutely fell in love with it, like a lot of teens do. A lot of hard-headed, I think, really is what it comes down to, and just kind of full of ourselves, and we think we know everything, and very much like individualistic, you know, we do things on our own and we don't need anybody else, that sort of thing, which is definitely who I was, you know? And so that book definitely spoke to me because of that. And then I read Atlas Shrugged, and that kind of cemented everything for me. And then I started reading more of her philosophical work, right? The Lexicon and a bunch of her other writings. And before you knew it, I was an objectivist talking about the evils of collectivism and altruism. I'm no huge fan of Christopher Hitchens, but I think he had one of the best comebacks when he was asked about objectivism. And he was like, look, I don't think humans need help being more selfish. He said it much better than that, but that was the basics. Like, you know, we don't need to tell people how to be selfish or to be more selfish or to be proud of being selfish. Like, this shouldn't even have to be said. But of course, it's appealing to a lot of us. We don't realize until we grow up and honestly have more experiences. I don't think a lot of people really logic their way out of objectivism because it's so clearly wrong that if you believe in it, it's not really a question of reason at that point. You like it because you like it, right? Because it feels right to you. I think for a lot of us, we have to have experiences that don't align with our prior experiences and really our privilege. I mean, there's a reason that really the vast majority of objectivists, really every single objectivist / libertarian I've ever met, and I've met quite a few, has been well off, you know, mostly men, and every single one has been, you know, either very comfortable or straight up rich, which makes total sense. You know, it's easy to be selfish. It's easy to be against a welfare state and to be against taxation and all of that stuff when you're doing great. You know, when you're a very privileged person. Yeah, when you've grown up and you haven't really had any trials. Look, you can be rich and have had really horrible things happen to you. You can have grown up well off and still have had terrible things happen to you, obviously. But there are people who grow up and they don't have enough food to eat. You know, it's something that many of us have never, ever, ever experienced. Feeling actual hunger, feeling so hungry and there's nothing to eat. I have no idea what that's like. And so it can become very easy for good people. I mean, pretty much every single objectivist / libertarian I've known has been a good person. I know the idea is that, oh, they're all racist and terrible, but that honestly has not been my experience. Of course, I don't know what is actually in someone's heart. You know, maybe deep down they actually are, but I think so much of it is coming from a place of just not understanding and not having experienced true poverty and true hardship that is totally outside of your control. Not having a serious disability or a serious mental illness. You know, there are tons of people in this country who cannot function in society because of their brain. They just can't hold down a job. And so as an objectivist, you're saying that, well, sucks to be you. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. This is why I moved away from objectivism, but I just wanted to say that, you know, I do think that a lot of it comes from just this lack of experience. And I think a lot of people, that's why they end up moving away, is they meet people who clearly are not being lazy. You know, they're clearly not just taking advantage of other people or anything like that. They're just struggling. They just didn't have the leg up that I had and that so many other people had. And that's ultimately why we end up going, okay, I was really, really wrong. Let's pretend that never happened. But yeah, I was an objectivist for years. I went to, you know, meetings almost every single month. I would go to a meeting and it was really nice. You know, it was really fun, but slowly but surely I started to move away from it because honestly, a big part was veganism because I became vegan. I guess it was a few years after I became an objectivist when I did like actually embrace animal ethics and animal rights. That just doesn't fit into objectivism. It just doesn't. There's no place for animals in objectivism. Someone told me that I could be totally wrong about this, but I remember someone telling me that she actually had a big problem because she loved animals. I think she had like peacocks too or something. And that was something that she kind of agonized over, that there was no place for animals in her philosophy. And instead of going, hey, maybe my philosophy is absolute shit, it was like, well, oh well. So that was a big thing for me, is that just never went away. There was no solution. And realizing, number one, what a huge role genetics play in our intelligence and really everything about who we are. It's a huge, huge factor, and it's something that is totally out of our control. You know, growing up with parents who maybe don't support you, growing up totally, totally poor, you can't help but realize that, man, I had a huge leg up. You know, I always had supportive parents. Again, I never had to worry about food or anything like that. When I wanted to start my own pet sitting business, I mean, it didn't like cost anything. I didn't ask my parents for money, but they were like, yeah, sure. You know, they always encouraged me to go out and do my own thing. When I started the YouTube channel, you know, they wanted me to do it. They were like, yeah, do it. I lived at home for a long time. I did not move out until like my mid-20s. Most people don't have that opportunity, you know, like my parents were like, yeah, whatever, like, you know, we love this because you have an opportunity to really like figure out what you want to do. And that's great. And without that, you know, I wouldn't have this channel. Like I wouldn't be doing this. Again, I know this video is all over the place, but that was kind of my journey. It was all over the place. You know, I would go back and forth because I did feel like an objectivist in terms of having my immediate judgment of people for a long time was just like, oh, well, you're not trying and you're lazy and victim mentality, that sort of thing. That's how I felt for a long time. And it was hard to get out of that because, again, that was pre-objectivism. You know, even if I didn't use victim mentality or anything like that, and I didn't really know how to express it, that's how I felt about a lot of people. It was incredibly judgmental, and objectivism just totally played into that, right? And just played into my own, you know, boosting my ego even more than it already was, you know, and kind of justifying everything for me. So it was really hard to admit that I was just wrong about everything, just every single thing. So of course it took a long time. And I think maybe this is why I'm more forgiving when it comes to veganism and people not being vegan, because eating meat is a huge part of a lot of people's identity. It's hard to move away from it, and it's hard to admit that people in your life who you love are doing something so horrible. You know, objectivism is very dogmatic, right? There are rules, and they are the rule in every single case. It's a lot easier to follow as an ethical system to just say, well, these are the rules, and they're the rules in every single case, period. You don't have to think about anything. Context doesn't matter. You know, it's a lot easier. It's like diets, right? Following one specific diet, and these are the rules all the time, period. It's a lot easier than saying eat in moderation, and there's nuance because some people have allergies, or some people do better on low carbs, some people do better on low fat. that sucks, man. Nuance sucks, right? The gray stuff sucks. It's a lot easier if things were just black and white, right? If we really just had good people and bad people, if we really just had cartoon villains who were so obviously evil, fight the evil guys, get rid of them. Cool, everyone's good now. Peace forever. I think that's the other part of just getting older, and it's why people tend to move away from objectivism, because you get older and you realize that, wow, there's just a lot of gray. There's a lot of gray in this world. It is mostly gray with very little black and white, clear-cut things. I mean, it's a lot of what I do on this channel. You know, obviously I advocate for veganism, but I like talking about the nuance, you know, the gray stuff, like yeah, don't eat animals, but what about roadkill? You know, yeah, don't eat eggs, but what if you have a backyard chicken that you take care of? I'm a much different person. I hated all of that stuff. I used to hate that stuff. I hated what if questions. They were the absolute worst. Now I love what if questions. They are so useful in terms of ethics, in terms of, you know, making sure that you're being consistent, helping you actually think through problems. I guess the final thing I'll say, the other thing that can make objectivism so appealing and moving away from it so hard is that it gives you license to be a good person without really doing anything. I mean, to be fair, I think most of us see ourselves as good, even if we don't really do anything, right? Like, as long as you don't murder people or like rape anybody, you're a good person, right? Which is kind of a low bar to clear. But objectivism takes that even further. You know, most people don't view their selfish acts as good. We may try to, you know, convince ourselves that we didn't really do it or justify it or something, but we know it's not good. Whereas objectivism is like, no, you're good for doing that. You know, as long as it's not infringing on anyone else's rights, you're totally in the right. You don't have to go out of your way to help other people. That's not important. If you want to do that, okay, fine, whatever, but don't feel like you have to, which is great. It's really satisfying, you know, because you can just live your life like most of us do without, you know, really harming other people or trying to harm them. And you're automatically a good person. And you don't have to view people who go out of their way to, you know, give money or spending time volunteering. They're not really any better than you. It's very, very, very appealing. And moving away from it means that you have to acknowledge that, yeah, there are a lot of people who are much better than you, who spend their money on other people, who spend their time on other people, and other people not just being their children and their family members, but people they don't even know. Those people are amazing. Those people are better than you. It's a hard thing for people who are egotistical, but who aren't like sociopaths, you know, which is a lot of people. There are very few sociopaths, but there are a lot of people, I think, who are very full of themselves, but who want to be good people and believe that they are good people. And so objectivism is very appealing because no one wants to do anything. You know, we don't want to have to take the time to think about our actions or think about other people we don't even know and how to help them and to think about the big problems in the world. It's hard. And no one wants to admit that they're doing things that are wrong and are really, really harmful. Again, it's the same with veganism. No one wants to admit that, wow, I've been eating meat, you know, and milk and eggs 3 times, 4 times a day for my entire life. Holy crap. How many animals is that? How much suffering is that? I guess that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Subscribe, support the channel, patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. And I'll have a video hopefully soon. I would love to hear, I don't know if I'm going to read the comments. Sometimes I read comments on videos, sometimes I don't. Usually I just use the Creator Studio and I'll scroll down randomly and see like the top, or what they do. They show like the 3 most recent comments. So it'll be, sometimes it's a comment on a video that I posted like 3 years ago. It's kind of fun because I don't know like what I'm going to get, you know, I don't know what's going to show up there, but yeah, there's just too many comments to read. It takes a lot of time. And sometimes it's like, I feel like I need to respond. And it's like, it's not a good use of my time. I hate to say that, but you know, I need to focus on like videos and getting videos out for you guys. You know, I hate that the last few months I've been getting out like 4 videos a month or something. I hate that. That's not that's not a lot of videos. I think the quality on all of them has been good, but some of the stuff has just taken me so long, and it's like, is it worth it? Like, was the video really, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. Point is, yeah, trying to spend my time on the most productive, useful things. You know what I mean? But yeah, what I was going to say is, if any of you guys have an objectivist journey story, that would be cool to kind of share in the comments. I'll try to remember to read them to see if it's similar. It's probably pretty similar, I would guess. And let's see, Thanksgiving is like next week, so I just recorded 2 other things. So this might be the last video, assuming I actually upload this. This might be the last video that you guys see from me before Thanksgiving. So I hope you have a good Thanksgiving if you celebrate it. I mean, I don't, I make food and stuff, but Thanksgiving's awful, right? What it represents is terrible, but my kid is real excited about watching the parade, so I guess we're watching the awful Macy's Day Parade that's all just musicals and singing and stuff, and I hate it. Oh, someone's calling. Oh, it's my partner. I feel like it used to be more about the floats. I could just be making that up. It's like, it was back in my day, the parade was awesome and it was all about floats. And man, I totally did not commit to that old person voice at all. That was just sad. I feel like the last few years, it's just all about these like little performances. It's fine, but I'm here for the floats, man. I want to see a giant ass Pikachu. Where's the Pikachu?